Hello guys, and welcome back to my video. So in this video we are going to be getting our menus from Firebase Firestore, right? So I have already created the menu collection, right? I've already created the menu collection, and then inside the menu collection we have documents which have our menu, right? You can see we have the title, quantity, price, menu ID, image, description, and category ID. So I've already populated them, and then I've already added like a menu folder which is going to contain all our menu images inside the cloud storage, right? So if you have not watched my previous videos on getting categories from Cloud Firestore, make sure you watch that video, because I showed you how to like create these collections and also these documents, right? So in this video I'm not going to do it again. I'm just going to get these from Cloud Firestore, since I've already created this menu collection, right? So without wasting much time, let's dive into our Visual Studio and let's begin creating our application, right? So first things first is we need to go inside our lib folder, and then I think it's the let's look for it. I think it should be the utils folder, right? The utils folder. Okay, Firebase constants, right? Inside our Firebase constants. So what I'm just going to do is I need to just copy this. We need to copy and then we paste it below, right? So this is going to be our menu collection. So let's make sure that it's menu, okay. Make sure that the name is similar to the one that we have in Cloud Firestore. Otherwise, if it's not, you are going to run into some problems. Okay, so inside our repository, let's create a menu repository file. So menu repository. So let's go inside our category. Let's copy this category repository class, right? Let's copy this category repository class. So I'm just going to copy this category repository class, and then I'm just going to paste it inside the menu repository class, right? So this is going to be menu repository, and then let's change this to menu repository, right? So let's import Firebase constants. In this case, we are going to have, it's going to be menu collection, right? So, and then we are going to get a list of menus, right? So it's supposed to be menu model. So let's change this to get menus, and then here it's supposed to be menu model also. And then let's change this to menus. And then we must just return menus like this, right? So this is now our menu repository, right? This is now our menu repository. So what we can do also, yeah, let's change this to menus, right? let's change this to menus. And then we need to do like pagination, right? We only want to return like the first 10 menus in our Cloud Firestore, right? So we are just going to return the first 10 menus. If it's more than, then we'll do pagination, which we'll do later on in this video, right? But we first need to retrieve the first 10 items in our Cloud Firestore database, right? So now that's it with for our menu repository, right? We have like a Cloud Firestore, which we bind to our constructor because we are going to get data from Cloud Firestore. And then we have this collection reference. This collection reference is just referencing to our menu collection inside our Cloud Firestore, right? And then we have this stream, which is going to retrieve a list of menus, right, that are in our Cloud Firestore database. So that's what basically this function does, right? So now what we need to do is we just need to create a provider for our menu repository so that we can access it inside our menu controller, right? Which is going to be a provider, and then this provider is going to take in a function which is going to be a reference, and then which is going to be menu repository. So here what we need is we need the Firebase Firestore instance. So we have already created this instance. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to use reference.watch from riverpod to just access that instance. So this is more of like, yeah, that's the good thing about Firebase Firestore. That's the thing about a good thing about riverpod. It can allow us to like to do dependency injection, because you can see that with this we need an instance of Firebase Firestore, right? This instance of Firebase Firestore. So what we can do is we can create this instance. If we go to providers, we have these Firebase providers. These Firebase providers are basically instances of our Firebase providers. You can see we have Firebase Firestore, Firebase auth provider, and then Firebase storage, right? So basically when we use this instance, now we can just inject it using the reference.watch from riverpod, right? You can just inject the instance, which is also a cool feature about riverpod, right? So now the next thing that we need to do is we need to create a menu controller, right? Let's create a menu controller. So let's create our menu controller. It's going to extend an async notifier. So an async notifier is just a riverpod class that exposes like state from asynchronous data, right? From asynchronous data. And then we need to provide an async value. So in this case, our async value, we are just going to use void, right? Alright, and then instead of creating this menu controller constructor as we did with state notifier, with async notifier, what we can just do is we need to just create a function with this async value, a build function with this async value of type void, and then this is going to be our build function, right? And then this build function, what we can basically do is, since we want to access our menu repository, what we can basically do is we can initialize a menu repository like this. what we can basically do is menu repository, which is go to reference.watch, which is going to be menu repository provider, like this, right? And then what we are just going to do is we need to just return a constant, which is async value dot data. So in this, the data is just going to be null, right? So async value is going to be an async value like this, right? So that's how we initialize like our build construct, right? Now the next thing that we need to do now is we need to get our menu items. So let's create a stream. And then get menu items, and then we are just going to return menu repository dot get menu, right? Get menus like this. So let's make sure that we import our menu model like this, right? So now that we are done with our menu controller, the next thing that we need to do is we need to create the menu controller provider, right? So this provider is going to be an async notifier provider. Async notifier provider. And then this async notifier provider is going to take in menu controller as the parameter, and then the async value of type void. And then we need to pass in the menu controller dot new like this, right? So that's it for our menu controller provider. Now we need to work on getting the menu items now using the stream provider. Okay, so let's create a stream provider for getting our menus, right? So I'm just going to name it get menus provider, which is basically going to be a stream provider. So if these providers are still confusing you, I have a complete playlist on riverpod providers that you can check. I properly explained what each and every one of these providers does, right? So quickly check out my playlist and make sure you go through it, and then you understand where all these stream provider, feature provider came from, right? So now we need to watch the menu controller provider dot notifier, and then dot get menu items like this, right? Okay, now we are done with getting our menu controller provider. So now basically what we just need to do now is we just make sure that we get these menu providers inside our user interface, right? Inside our screen, right? If you go to our user interface inside our all menu widget, we just need to change the stateless widget to consumer widget. So let's change this to consumer widget. Let's provide widget reference inside, okay? And then let's import Flutter riverpod, right? So what I'm basically going to do is going to say menu is equal to reference dot watch so what did we name our get menus providers? So get menus provider, right? And then what I'm going to do is, instead of returning this create_view.build, I'm just going to cut it. Then we are just going to return a menu.when, and then once we get the data, which is our menu from Cloud Firestore, right, that's when we are just going to return this grid view right here. If we have an error somehow, if we get an error, what I'm just going to do is we need to just tell the user what's going on, right? And then if you remember, we created this custom widget error text. So custom widget error text, let's import it. Yep, it's going to be, let's error to toString. So I think we imported the wrong item. It's supposed to be error. It's supposed to be error text. So, and then we pass in error to toString like this, and then if the data is somehow still loading, we need to show a loader. So we created this custom widget loader. Okay, let's import it. Loader. Okay, so now we are done with. So here we need to just place in data.length like this, and then we're just going to pass in data and then index like this. Okay, so now let's try to run our emulator and let's see if everything is working well, if we are not getting any errors. Right, so let me just pull up the emulator and then let me show you guys. So we are running it on iPhone 16 Plus. Okay. So somehow we are getting an error from saying now is not a subtype of string in the typecast. Okay, so let's see what's going on. All right, so let's try to catch all exceptions. All right, so let's reload. Okay, it's about menu ID. So I think, let me check. So I think we might not have a menu ID. Okay, so I made a typo in one of the these. Let me show you. So it's capital caps lock menu ID. It's supposed to be caps lock. So let's fix it. So menu ID, and then the value was 3. So let's see what else. Menu ID, menu ID, UID, menu ID. Right, so let's reload. So category 1. Okay, so we also have the quantity in some of the item. The quantity is null, so let's look for it. Right, so let's add the quantity field. So let's just say 500 grams, something like that. And then let's try to reload. No value username now. So okay, quantity. Yeah, we forgot quantity also. So let's say 330 milliliters, something like this. And then let's try to reload and see. Asset is not found. Okay, so here we are getting asset is not found because we are using an image.asset. Yeah, we are using an image.asset instead of an image.network. Right, so let's reload. Now I'm sure the emulator is running. Now you can see all our menu items are now coming out. So now we have like the categories and then the menu coming from Cloud Firestore. So in the next video we are going to be working on the menu details and also the ingredients part. So thanks for watching, guys. Cheers.